crafty friends, welcome back to the attic. Today we're going to step into a very special corner of the attic. A quiet winter woodland where the veil between night and dawn feels a little thinner. I'm so excited to share the full reveal of my newest digital kit. I'm calling this one Guardians of the Winter Veil. This collection was inspired by the winter solstice, the longest night of the year, and mysterious guardians who keep watch over the frostbound forest. We're going to flip through every page together, and then I'll show you a simple and beautiful folio that you can make with this kit. Something that's beginner friendly, quick, and perfect to add to your winter crafting. In this kit, you're going to find all the folio pages. We've got the base, and then we've got some flaps. And I've backed mine with one of the background papers in the kit. It's a patterned stained glass image. There are several background papers I'll show you as we go along that you could choose to background your folio with if you want something different than mine. There's also fussy cuts and pockets sprinkled throughout the pages. Along with some sentiment word strips, and of course, our light and shadow guardians. The white and ebony wolves, the black and frost ravens, the midnight stag, all to guard our winter wonderland. There's images of stained glass. Now let's show you the background pages option. Again, this is the one I chose to back my folio with, the stained glass image. There's a beautiful snowy background. There's another muted stained glass textured image. Then there's more of a pale gray here. And then a darker version of that stained glass pattern. And then finally we have our William Morrison inspired woodland scenes. Now let's move into the little folio we're going to make together. This is a simple project, one you can put together in a shorter amount of time than it would take you to do a full journal, and then you can decorate it at your own pace. I'm going to pause here, cut out all the pieces, and come back and show you how to assemble it. Alright, let's start out by telling you a little bit about how I printed this kit. I printed everything on 8.5 by 11 80-pound cardstock. That is just my personal preference when I'm putting folios together. You can do it on any style paper that you prefer. That is just what I like. If you do decide you would like to shrink this folio down, make sure you shrink them all the same and print all the pages at the exact same size. That way all your pockets and flips and stuff will fit together. And also when I printed this, I took off the fit to page to make sure none of my images got cut off. I've pre-scored all my lines and I've inked everything up. The inks I'm using are ice spruce, scattered straw, and stormy sky. I thought these would pull the light and dark aspects from the images and the theme of the kit. You do not have to ink. Inking is also a personal preference. If you want to keep this a really fast project, skip the inking altogether. So let's start putting this together. As I'm going along, I will show you exactly what pieces of the kit you need for each step. So let's start out. You need your base that has the two flaps and it ends up folding like a gatefold. And if you're going to put this together like I do, I'll show you the pieces. But a lot of these pieces are interchangeable as far as being sized to where they'll fit different panels. So if you want to go rogue, by all means do that. But the way I'm going to put this together, you're going to need the light pocket and the scooped winter scene pocket. You're going to need the scooped pocket with the snowflakes and the smaller scooped pocket with the candle scene. And you're gonna need the 2 rounded corner pockets that look like stained glass, and the 2 small scooped pockets that have the snowflake images on them. So we're gonna start out and decide which one you want your front and what you want your back to be, because you technically could do it like this, or you could do it to where it's like this with your back like that. I'm gonna keep it like this. So let's start with the inside of this. There is a mock-up that's included with this kit that kind of shows you where I kind of planned out all these pockets. Again, you can follow that, but you do not have to. I'm gonna start out with my 2 scooped pockets here, and I'm gonna put those in the center. Again, I've already scored them and inked them up. You're wanting to put them right in between these 2 score lines. It might be a little hard to see on camera, but you've got a score line here and a score line there. So let's go ahead and just add our glue. I am using wet glue here. That is a personal preference. You can use double stick tape, any glue of choice. I just want to make sure that these are burnished down really well so I can get them on my folio easier. I like to use wet glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room to get these lined up in between those score lines, where double stick tape doesn't let you do that. It's pretty much a one and done. What I do is I start with one side, get that lined up there, and then go over and make sure it's lined up on the other side, and then I fold my flaps in just to make sure everything folds freely. Just a little bit needs to come down before I burnish everything down. Just get up any extra glue if you got any. And so that's your first pocket. The second pocket that'll make this a stacked set of pockets is going to go right on top of this one. Just get that lined up. And when designing this kit, I have 2 score lines here and on this side, and that gives us a little gusset so that you'll have room when you put these pockets in and you get them filled up. It'll have room that those will still close without it being really gator mouthed. So we've got those. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put these little scooped pockets that have the snowflake backgrounds right on the side flat panels. They're both the same size. You can put either one on either side. Add your glue to your 3 sides. Remember, when adding glue, the more glue you put on there, the smaller your pocket ends up being. Sometimes I get heavy-handed with glue. I have to remind myself not to do that. And again, you want to make sure you're going in between the score line and the edge of that panel. Get that lined up. Make sure it folds over and closes. Okay, and then we'll do the other side, same way. Edge of your panel. Make sure it closes. And so there's the inside all put together for you. Okay, so I'm going to close this up and we're going to work on the front of this. And this is where I've got the two little stained glass pockets that are gonna go right here on the edge, just like that. Okay. Gonna add glue to the two straight sides. Just make sure that folds freely. And then the same thing on the other side. That lined up. Make sure it folds out. And so there you have your fold out, just like that. Okay, so there's the base of the folio. And at this point you could technically stop, and this is a folio. You could add these two pockets right here on this back, just like that, and be done with this folio, and it'd be a really easy, fast project. But I made a couple of flaps for this that just added to the folio. For this, you're going to need your two side flaps, your two square snowflake pockets, and then your two pockets that look like the stained glass. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just open this a little bit so it lays flat, so I can work with it a little easier. And I want to put my flaps on. You can put your flap on to where when it closes it's the same as this, or you can put them the other way so when it closes you've got the stained glass look. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it to where the back of my folio is the stained glass look. Okay, so I want both of my pieces just like this, to where I've got a right and a left. Then when it folds in, it'll be like that, and it'll be like that. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this flap right inside the center fold line. So you want to get that lined up right inside there. Line it up with that score line. Just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Should burnish these down just a little bit better. Add my glue right here. And line that up. Being careful not to go over that score line. And keeping everything even at the bottom. Make sure you can see that I'm in frame. And then just burnish these down. So now we've got our two flaps. They'll go in like that and like that. Okay, here's an example I want to show you. Depending on how you scored, sometimes you will need to train your paper to fit the way you want it to. You can do that either with your finger, just pressing down, or you can take your bone folder and just get a nice crease. But the reason for this is, even though these were designed to fit together, depending on if I scored on the outside of the line, directly on the line, or inside the line a little bit, they might not line up exactly right. But if you just take your bone folder or your hand and just train that back down, it will end up lining up the way you want it to. So that's what we've got so far. So let's open this back up. We're going to open our flaps up. So now we're going to work on the inside of these back flaps. So I'm going to start with the light square and the snowflake and the winter scene scooped pocket and put that right here. Before you do that, if you want to cover up these flaps here, now would be the time to do that. If you want to cover that up, the easiest way to do it with paper is to print one of these flaps twice and then just cut that center one off. And before I glue it in, I like to just make sure that I cut it, and I don't need to make any adjustments, and I am going to cut it a little bit more here. Just cut inside that line just a little bit to allow the thickness of the paper and everything to fold. That'll fold that way, and that'll fold that way. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. You could just cover this up with some ribbon or one of the images from the kit later on. But I like a finished look. So adding this little extra panel is my preferred way. And so now we're ready to take our pocket here and our little snow scene scooped pocket right there. Again, always before I glue something down, I like to check to make sure how I've trimmed it, if things gonna fit together. And let's just add our glue. I'm just gonna add my little winter scene pocket. Just kind of centered in there. I'm gonna leave these to where I can add embellishments later, and I'm gonna add some pockets to the outside of these flaps. And that's where your scooped pockets here come. And depending on how you backed those, you would have a couple of options. So just test out what you want them to look like. I'm going to go ahead and use the image that I printed on for the original image and put my two little tuck pockets right here. Again, make sure everything opens and closes each step. That is the biggest thing I can tell you when you're putting folios and things together. Keep checking as you go just to make sure everything opens and closes the way you want it to, because it's a lot easier to stop and make adjustments as you go than figure out at the end, once you've done all your work, that something doesn't open or close the way you wanted it to. And so that's like that. Okay, I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to put my winter scene pockets on the backs of both of these flaps. So I've got a little pocket like that. So that's the basic construction of this little folio. You've got your gatefold here. You've got your two flaps that open like this and then like that. Now, I'm not going to decorate mine today because I want y'all to make this project your own if you decide to do it. But here are a few ideas. You can take the fussy cuts and add them to pockets. You can use the medallions inside as a mini tuck spot. You can take snowflake charms, wax seals, and add them for texture. If you wanted to, before you glued your pockets down, you could have stitched around these with some white thread to give it a winter quilt type feel. You can take and tuck in celestial poems and photos. You can go elegant and minimal, or you can go full-on woodland magic with lots of layering. It is all how you want to decorate your project. There are a couple of ways that you could close this. I did put in some circles that you could make policy style closures and close it that way. For the flaps back here, you could add magnets or hook and loop style closures. The way I'm going to do mine is I have some ribbon that I thought went beautifully with the colors in this kit. And once I get it all decorated, I'm going to take some inspiration from my dear friend Helen, who it has become her signature that all her projects are not finished until she has added a bow. So I am going to just close my whole folio together with a bow. I'm not going to cut it at this point because I want to come back and decorate it, and so I might need this ribbon to be a little wider. So I don't want to cut it yet, but that keeps everything closed just like that. This folio has lots of places to tuck your tags, your journaling cards, your photos and your mementos throughout December and winter solstice. So if you'd like to create this folio, Guardians of the Winter Veil is now available in my Etsy shop. Just look for the link in the description below. The kit comes as a PDF document that contains the Google Drive link to all the files you'll need. It's an easy download to print and then start crafting right away. So thank y'all for spending time with me again here in the attic today. I can't wait to see what y'all create with this magical kit. So if you do create something and share it on social media, please tag me so I can cheer you on. So until next time, stay warm, stay inspired, and may your winter crafting be full of a little frost and a little magic. Until I see y'all again, y'all take care.